Hi, welcome to the Israel First television program live on YouTube. We welcome you all across the world, wherever you're watching today, whether you're watching live or whether you're watching this at a later stage, you're very welcome. If you are watching live, you can message us on YouTube, so please send us a message. It would be great to hear from you. If you're watching at a later date, then you can always email us at info@israelfirst.org, and it's myself, Martin Blackham, with my wife Nathalie Blackham, and today we're bringing you a special Hanukkah program because we're in the season of Hanukkah, the season of lights, the season of dedication, and bringing you news and features from Israel. And we'll get straight into the news because it's a lot of things are happening in Israel. And just to quickly update you regarding coronavirus, because a lot of you have been asking what's the situation, how is it, are you locked down, are you not locked down? Well, at the moment we're not locked down. However, the country's reached nearly 3,000 daily patients. The death toll stands at over 3,000. 381 patients are in serious condition, with 138 patients connected to ventilators. Health officials warned of renewed restrictions as the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, continues his enforced stay in quarantine. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had to enter quarantine after coming into contact with someone who had tested positive for coronavirus, his spokeswoman announced. The Prime Minister tested negative for COVID-19 and he's been asked to remain in isolation as we've come into the studio. He apparently had come into contact with the president of the Likud, and that's why, for safety precautions, he's in quarantine.
By the way, do you know that the president, the president in France, Macron, is having COVID today.
Oh, I didn't know that. Right.
Sorry, let me say it again. The president of France, Macron, discovered that he's been diagnosed with COVID. Sorry, I'm having problem with my speaking today.
And it's just one of those things. But I mean, it's very important for you to know what's happening in Israel. It's happening everywhere. We realize that as you're watching today, wherever you're watching in the world, you are affected by this. But just to let you know what's happening here in the land. So whilst we're not under extreme restrictions, we are facing difficulties because of coronavirus. So maybe we can talk about Hanukkah and what's happening at Hanukkah.
Yeah, I had a friend a few days ago who was saying, "Oh, Nathalie, I'm putting my candles in the evening on my little Hanukkah, and suddenly I can't remember if I have to light up, the shamash, which is the middle one, if I have to leave it on." And I was like, "Yes, of course." And it's funny, there is a lot of Christians now who really understand that Hanukkah is very important. Why? Because there was the Greek who were like pushing away the way of thinking of the Jewish people. They weren't fighting them like straight in one way, which is interesting. They were more fighting the ideology. And we will speak a bit more about that after. So they were fighting the Jewish way of living, okay? And so, we will speak a bit about that. But so one of the things now that people do, and the Christians do, is also seeing the importance of Hanukkah, because if there was no more Jewish people, Jesus came after the story of Hanukkah, which means that they will have no more savior, because no more Jews. And if you remember, also in John 10, do you remember? Mm-hmm. Jesus was going to the Feast of Dedication, which is the name in English for Hanukkah. And he was going to the temple. He was going there because there was festivities already at the time. So this is very interesting. So when you put all your Hanukkah, the Hanukkah, your little candles on the Hanukkah, is the Menorah is 9 branches, so it's called Hanukkah. And what you do, the first day you put the shamash, which is the one in the middle, and you take it when it's lit up, and you do 1 candle. And every day, because it's for 8 days, you add 1 candle And so it's like more and more light after 8 days, which is really beautiful to see that. And right at the beginning, when we were starting to think about Hanukkah and to do it at home, you buy usually box of candles, and there was, I don't know how many, 30 or 40 in it. And I was like, why do they need so many? I don't understand how it works. And so now we know how it works. And it's like, it seems obvious when you know how to do it, but it's like new tradition that Christians are taking in because they know that we are linked with the Jewish people, and no Jewish people, no Christians. We came out of the Jewish people, and we really need to come back to our roots because it's very important.
And Hanukkah is an amazing time. We have the lights, the candle lights in the windows, the Hanukkah, as Nathalie was saying, that you light up. And where we're broadcasting from today, the studio we're broadcasting from, is in the hills of Jerusalem. And it was indeed in the hills of Jerusalem where the Maccabees set up. And in fact, in Modi'in, which is just down the road, they started the rebellion against the Greeks. And an amazing time of it was warfare. They had to fight for their freedom. And it's something that is remembered by the lighting of the candles, the miracle of the menorah being lit in the temple. And you say, well, why is it, why do you have to light the candles? What's the menorah? Well, the menorah in the temple was lighting a light for the temple, but it was also a light for the city of Jerusalem. Mm-hmm. When the Greeks were there, they damaged the temple. They set up idols and all sorts of things.
Yeah, for the god Zeus.
And as well as that, they'd done, as Nathalie was saying, they've done terrible things in the temple. Some people say it's the abomination that causes desolation. They set up, they put a pigs. Zeus. They put up Zeus in the temple. Mm-hmm. They were sacrificing pigs. So when the Jewish people got the temple back, they found the menorah intact, but however, there wasn't enough oil for 8
days.
For the 8 days,
yeah, because it was taking 8 days to do some new oil. So they couldn't do it like in 1 day. So it took a while, and the oil should have lasted only for 1 day, and it lasted for 8 days. So they had the time to do the new oil and all of that, because it's very specific oil. It needs to be very pure and done in a special way. And
they managed, with the small amounts of oil that they had, to keep the menorah lit for the 8 days. It was a miracle. And so now they light the Hanukkah in the windows. If you go past a Jewish shop, you'll find there'll be very often a Hanukkah there. If you go into the Jewish neighborhoods, they have Hanukkah, and it's the Hanukkah candles that are lit, mm-hmm. and the families light every night to remember this miracle that happened in the temple at this time of the Maccabees and the return of the Jewish temple mm-hmm. To the Jewish people.
So I was learning also. First of all, they were a little army. They were small, and it's like they were a high priest family, and they say, okay, it's enough. But the women also were very involved, and one of the daughter of the high priest was called Judith, and she was like a Greek chief. I can't remember, like somebody high up in the army wanted to have her, ask her to come, and he wanted to have intimate relationship with her, and obviously for her it was terrible, but she was very clever. So she said, okay, let me give you a lot of cheese. So the man in the army ate a lot of cheese. Then he was thirsty, so he drank a lot, and he was drunk. And so she took a sword and killed him. And so she was fine. So you see, there is a lot of stories in Hanukkah, and the ladies also was there. Now, I was reading also something interesting also, because I was saying it was also an ideological war, okay? Like the Greek didn't want circumcision. They didn't want them to have the Torah. didn't want them to have Rosh Chodesh, which is the New Year. So it was like all things that the Jewish people were sanctified time, and also sanctify themselves. It's like the Brit, the circumcision was really like now. When you do that at the 8th day, interesting, for a child, it was like he was coming into the covenant of Abraham. So it was something very important for them. And so the Greek wanted to just stop all of that. So you see, it was like a warfare, but it was also an ideological warfare too. And so, which is also what we can see now, that they didn't want to recognize that there was a higher power. And like for example, so the Greek, just think the Greek love beauty and all of that, and like circumcision is like you were cutting something, and so you were mutilating a body, but this is because God said this is the way how to do it, okay, to come into my covenant. But for the Greek it was like very wrong. So you see, there was a whole, and like even now, some people are saying, oh no, don't do circumcision. You are mutilated the children. And it's like, yes, you are doing something to the body, but because of that, you are coming into a covenant with God. So it's something that God has said. Funny enough, there is a miracle, because when you do it on the 8th day, in the body, you have the highest level for coagulation on that day in your life.
Wow.
So God knows, it's like there is a higher wisdom, and we have to follow the higher wisdom.
And if you've just joined us, we're broadcasting live on YouTube. If you're watching at a later date, then you can always email us at info@israelfirst.org. If you're watching now, then please do message us. We'd love to hear from you. Be great to get your comments wherever you're watching in the world. We've been having in Israel, by the way, winter storms. It's been raining a lot, and the winter storms have brought heavy rain and flooding across Israel. Emergency services have extracted people who've been stranded in their cars and homes due to floods. Basements have been flooded. In Ashdod, the municipality had to close roads because they were susceptible to being flooded. And there's been across the country, many people have been stranded and rescued. Flooded basements in Holon due to the heavy rains. There was in Ramat HaSharon, 3 people rescued from their home in Herzliya as well.
And quite often the road 90 is the road that goes from Jerusalem to Elat in the south. Very often is close to the Dead Sea, and you have a lot of water coming from the mountain, and very often is stopped. You have to stop the traffic. But you know what I saw also this morning? That there was a synagogue who was flooded also in Ra'anana. And like obviously in the synagogue you have the Torah's scrolls. So they had to rescue them. They were okay, but you can imagine, like, a synagogue is not just like a building. They are keeping the Torah, and the Torah is very important, and is written by hand, and is expensive, and you don't want to have it destroyed. So it was a big of a rescue again today. And
today we're bringing you a special Hanukkah program from the land of Israel. It's going out live as we speak on the YouTube channel, and if you're watching, please do comment, and we'd love to receive your messages. You know that there's some amazing things happening in this Hanukkah season. Prime Minister Israeli Benjamin Netanyahu, whilst he went to the Western Wall to light the Hanukkah, announced this amazing peace treaty with the nation of Morocco.
Yes.
In North Africa. And Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu thanked Moroccan King Mohammed VI, I think it is, for taking this historic decision to bring a historic peace treaty between us. This will be a very warm peace. On this Hanukkah, the light of peace has never shone so brightly than today in the Middle East, said Netanyahu at the Western Wall. He said the relationship of the peoples of both countries has long been characterized by sympathy, respect, fondness and love. And he praised King Mohammed's historic decision to make peace. King Mohammed said in a statement that Morocco would take 3 moves in the very near future to advance relations. First, there will be moves to facilitate direct flights to transport Jews of Moroccan origin and Israeli tourists back and forth to Israel to develop, and also he wants to develop economic relationships with innovation in the technological fields. And as part of this goal, and renewing liaison officers, King Mohammed was saying that this is such an important thing for him because he's always had a very fond at Hanukkah.
Yeah, it's very special also for me because my parents met in Morocco. And you know, the Moroccans and the king has always been very kind with the Jewish people. So like to see this relationship now is just amazing.
And also at this time of the season of lights, there's hundreds of Jews have arrived from the Bnei Menashe tribe in India. The Aliyah of the lost tribe Bnei Menashe after 2,700 years of exile is a modern-day Hanukkah miracle. After many years of waiting, hundreds of members of the Bnei Menashe Jewish community of India have made Aliyah in a special operation. Israel's Minister of Aliyah and Absorption, Panina Tamano Shatta, stated, "I'm delighted to have the honor of bringing members of the Bnei Menashe community to Israel after many years of waiting. This follows a unanimous approval of a special government decision that I promoted for the immediate Aliyah of around 250 new Olim. The new arrivals hail from northeast India." So if you're watching India, that's where they are coming from India, and where they preserved their Jewish traditions for generations. The Ashkenazi chief rabbi of Israel, Rabbi David Lau, supported Minister Tamano Shatta's proposal to bring them to the country. So it's an absolutely amazing, development. And at the same time, we've also had this an amazing development regarding aging. And it says, Israeli scientists claim to reverse human aging. An Israeli doctor says he's brought about physical changes in human blood cells that reverse aging. In other words, not just stopping you from aging, but reversing the process using oxygen therapy.
You see, oxygen. We always say that. You go for walks, you breathe. Is very important. And this interesting.
He says Shai Efrati reported in a peer-reviewed article published recently that his research team 60-day therapy lengthened telomeres, the structures found at the end of chromosomes, on an average by more than a fifth. He claims this represents a holy grail in the battle against aging. Some of the physicians have reservations because they don't know exactly what doing this will do to the human body. He said, we are trying to address aging with physical exercise and changes to diet, but this is only showing decline. Efrati told news media, we're showing that we can actually turn the biological clock backwards and improve the quality of blood cells. This means we can start to look at aging as a reversible disease. This is an amazing development. And at the same time, Israel is doing so much in the field of innovation with designs and technology. And it says Chinese car manufacturer to use Israeli car driver awareness invention. And the Chinese car manufacturer will utilize a driver sense. What it does is it actually scans the face to see if you're tired or if you need a nap or if you're not concentrating. And it's going to launch this even as we speak and as we bring the program to you. The Chinese are launching this car onto the market with this Israeli invention. The driver sense monitoring system utilizes artificial intelligence and computer vision to monitor the driver for signs of distraction and drowsiness behind the wheel to help create a safer driving experience.
So they have like an alarm?
Yeah, it tells you if you're falling asleep. The company monitors important factors including gaze, vector, blink rate, and eye openness to monitor for dangerous situations, and also includes the ability to monitor the driver accurately with a face mask present. So even if you're wearing a face mask, it can monitor the face, a proper seatbelt usage, as well as cigarette smoking detection. As the largest automotive marketplace in the world, our expansion into the Chinese market is a huge step towards improving road safety on a global scale, said David Tolub, CEO of Scipio Israel, which is the company that's doing this amazing invention. We look forward to working together with our customer on not only this design, but also on many future models to come. So this is just one of many inventions that are coming. You know, there's a lot of road safety. We've talked about Mobileye, and if you look on our YouTube channel just below us, you can see an interview we've done with Mobileye regarding their safety, amazing work in safety technology, Natalie, that they've done. And even as we speak, you know, there are self-driving cars driving from Israel, driving in Germany now, testing them out in Munich. So this is an amazing time that we're living in, Natalie.
It's exciting.
And we've also had in Israel a major defense drill proving that Israel can defend itself against cruise missiles, declaring a world first. The defense ministry pit all three tiers of its system against various threats, demonstrating a capability that currently only Israel has. The Defense Ministry completed a major unprecedented air defense exercise this month, which tested the abilities of the country's systems against a variety of aerial threats, officials said. In the drill, which the ministry deemed a glowing success, the various air defense detection systems and batteries were required to communicate with one another, which again is quite new, and intercept several different types of targets, including rockets, unmanned aerial vehicles, and critically cruise missiles. And this is all the threat that Israel is currently facing. You know, as we come to you at this time of Hanukkah, it is something that they are, you know, that faces the country, and that's why this exercise was so important. It's probably not so much on a physical army or occasion. We do still have sadly we have terrorist attacks, but the major threat for Israel is from cruise missiles and missile attacks, including from Iran. So this is such an important exercise that they've been doing, and they did in cooperation with the United States. So a very important thing, which was very successful. Now, just as we are coming in, there's also the rumor, we talked about it on our last live program, about new elections, the possibility for those who are interested in the situation with Israel, with politics. And we know many of you are watchmen, watching what's going on and involved with Israel. We have a situation where the dispersal deadline looms. And it says that legal officials say coalition must agree on a budget by next week. That's the week after we've done this program. As sources report, no contact between Likud and Blue and White, who are the two major parties and who have the coalition at the moment. The unity government may crumble, sending Israel to its fourth round of elections within 2 years. 4 elections in 2 years is unprecedented. Meanwhile, unnamed political sources told Israel Channel 12 News that there were currently no contacts between Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's Likud and Defense Minister Gantz's Blue and White parties on the budget issue. An indication of where we're at with this whole matter is that Blue and White is already looking for headquarters from which to run an election campaign, Natalie. So, you know, it looks like that's a possibility that we may be running into new elections, and so we'll keep you updated about that and about what's happening. Well, it's been great to be with you. We appreciate so much you joining us today. If you'd like to support the work we're doing, don't forget you can go and visit the website, which is www.israelfirst.org. They can go there and you can donate and support the work we're doing. And if you'd like to email us, don't forget you can email us at info@israelfirst.org. And we look very much forward to seeing you again on the Israel First television program, bringing you news and features from the land of Israel. And we look forward to seeing you soon.
And Hanukkah Sameach. Happy Hanukkah to all of you.